Let's learn about using JavaScript by learning how to use a simple alert. The alert is a method of the window object, and you will learn how to use this as a very valuable debugging tool as we go on in this course. It is a method of the window object, although because the window object is the top-level object, I don't necessarily have to write it, although I can. A method is always followed by parentheses, and it usually takes some kind of value or parameter. If I pass a literal to the alert, such as hello world, you will see that that text literal will be shown in the message box. So here we have hello world being shown in the message box, and this box will stay here until I click OK. Now the rest of the page will load. The web browser reads the HTML document from the top down, so it will execute the JavaScript as it reads it, meaning that this JavaScript will be executed before the code in the body. When you use a string literal in JavaScript, you can use single quotes or double quotes. However, supposing we have a mistake here, notice nothing will happen when I refresh my page. JavaScript usually does not display an error message when something goes wrong. Each browser comes with a very handy set of development tools. You can access them from the menu or by using the F12 key at the top of the keyboard. Here it will show us our JavaScript error, and it will tell us the line number where it is. Even if you don't understand what the error means, it will point you in the direction that something is wrong and give you the area where the mistake lies. You also see this red X here indicating that there is one error. So my mistake is on line 13. And here we see there is my mistake, which was because my quotes did not match. I would now like to show you how to use document.write. This is the write method of the document object. The document is essentially the web page. As I said earlier, a method is followed by two parentheses and generally takes some kind of value or parameter. Here we are passing it not only a string literal, but some HTML also, in order to display our hello world using document.write. Notice that my script tags are in the body. That is because I am displaying content, and content belongs inside the body, not in the head section. Notice when I display the web page, there is my hello world. If I were to right-click and use the browser's inspect tool, I can actually see the generated code. Although I still see the JavaScript, I see the code that was generated with JavaScript. By merely looking at the page source, you only see the JavaScript. So by right-clicking and using the inspect tool, you can actually see what JavaScript is generating to make sure that your HTML is correct. Now we will write hello world using the document object model. In my head section, I have some relatively elaborate JavaScript code. And this is the way that we write to the page using the document object model. By the document object model, I mean that we reference an object and set a property for that object, rather than using document.write inside the body, because document.write is obsolete in today's world. As I said earlier, the browser reads the code from the top down and executes it in that order. So if the browser were to read getElement by ID heading 1, it would not know where this ID heading 1 is because it has not read to the end of the page yet, which is where my ID is in my H1 element. So what developers do, they hold back this JavaScript code from being read until the page has completely loaded. This is the onload event. That means that the page has loaded. And when that page has loaded, we will call an anonymous function. The word function is followed by parentheses. Functions along with methods are always followed by parentheses. It may take a value or parameter inside those parentheses, or it may not. In this case, it doesn't. It is an anonymous function because it has no name, so we just write the word function. Every function is defined by delimiters. These delimiters are curly braces, similar to the delimiters you use when writing CSS. So the onload is an event of the window object. Although you don't need to write the window object, developers always put it there. So this is very commonly used code. GetElement by ID is a method of the document object. As we have learned earlier, methods are followed by parentheses, and they may or may not take a value known as a parameter. In this case, the getElement by ID is used to reference an ID attribute in the HTML document. In our body section, we have an H1 element, and it has an ID of heading 1. So what this expression is doing, it is making a reference to this specific H1 element. If you remember from CSS, the value of an ID attribute must be unique, meaning there can only be one ID equals heading in this page. You may have other IDs, but with different values. That is because JavaScript uses the ID to reference something as a unique object. So rather than using document.write, it is more professional by setting this reference to the location in the page that we want to interact with. Next, we are setting the inner HTML property. Notice our dot syntax, object.method.property. The inner HTML property is whatever text and/or HTML is inside this element that we just referenced. We are setting that value, and this is a literal value, and notice we have the actual HTML elements here. So what is on the right will be assigned to what is on the left. This long expression is pointing to the location inside the opening and closing H1 tags. So if we were to load this page, here we see Hello World. And if we use our inspect tool, here we can see that indeed JavaScript did output that content to the page inside the H1 element. Using the inspect tool and looking at the generated code is the only way that you can see that your HTML has been rendered correctly. Supposing we wanted to put this in an external file. All we need to do is copy the code, open up a blank document, and paste that code and save it with a file name with the JS extension. Notice I do not include the script tags. The script tags are HTML elements, and they belong in the HTML document, not in the JavaScript file. So if I save this as code.js, this is how I would reference my external file. And if I were to load this in the browser, you would see that my hello world is showing because the browser executed the code from the file.